Namaste students. Today we are going to learn the topic financial markets. Now, as I have written here, the term financial market may bring a lot of questions in your mind. Do we have a market where we get finance? Now, let me start this class with an example. If you need vegetables in lot, or you want to buy vegetables which are required for a week, for 15 days, you like to go a specific place called as vegetable market and buy. And like that, in the market area of your town or your city, you will find that there are markets called as cloth bazaar, gold bazaar. We call it as saraf bazaar also in our region. And we call it as Kapada Bazaar or for cloth bazaar. And even we have a dedicated place to sell footwear also. So now question arises, what these places are. For example, let me tell you, when it comes to vegetable market, a farmer produces 100 kg of tomatoes. 100 kg of tomatoes. Now the question arises, will he be able to consume all 100 kg of tomatoes, which is perishable? No, he cannot. So what he does is, he will keep 5 kgs which he requires, and he like to disperse this 95 kg which is not required. So what he does, he will try to give it to someone who is in need. So where he comes to vegetable market. Now I, being an individual, I have 30,000 rupees income. I am working as a lecturer. But I don't know how to grow tomatoes, but I like to use them and I need it in my everyday food. So what I do, I will try to exchange my money with vegetables, and for that there is a specific place. So we both meet here. So that becomes a market. You will learn that in the later classes, what is market, where buyers and sellers meet, and there is a definition. So now we are speaking about not just market, we are speaking about the markets which are dedicated for specific activity. By that, what happens? There will be a convenience for the people who are buying and who are selling, because there is a dedicated place. Now, like that, if you need a loan or a business needs a loan, what it should do? Now then, the question of this market arises, that is financial market, and now that is existing. Now what this does? Now you know that, now we are speaking in terms of a business. Now every business needs finance to run its business. And not only to run business, in order to expand also, a firm or a business or a company, or you can call, needs finance. Then question arises, how that finance can be raised? Because without that we cannot run business. Now for this reason, there is a mechanism which provides finance to the business house. How it runs, let us understand. Now, I am an individual. Who I am? Individual. I said my income is 30,000. And here in your textbook, it is referred as households. We all are called as households. What we do, we are the people who save, who save. And what we do, whenever we save, we keep that money in the bank. We keep that money in bank. Why we keep our money in the bank? The reason is we are going to get interest, and the other one is safety of funds. But unless there was a return, we could have at least made a thought before we deposit our money into bank. But what we feel is, oh, at least we are getting some amount. But now you need to think, when bank is paying interest to me, will it pay it out of its own pocket? No. What it does is, now, if it is a bank, when I save my money, when the households save their money in the bank, in turn, the bank will lend money to business house. The bank will lend money to business house, and in turn, business house will pay interest to the banks, and bank will pay interest to the households. Now, what bank, you know about all this story. You know that your father has a deposit, also your father has a bank loan. Okay, and generally, the rate of interest on the deposits will be lower than the rate of interest on loans. Okay, so now this you already know, like households will save in the bank and bank will lend it to the business. But now in this chapter, there will be one more option we are going to discuss. That is, instead of keeping it in bank, you may buy some shares or debentures through a market called as financial markets. And this financial market will become an intermediate between you and the business. You and business. So you have an alternative. You can deposit in the bank, or you can directly buy it from the business house by entering into the financial market. So this you need to have a very clear picture of all these things. What is happening here? Because if you are not doing it, then remember, you may just by heart the points, but you will not be able to understand what exactly the financial market is. Now, I will discuss something about entertainment. You know that recently a film has released, that is Scam. There was a film named Scam, which was based on the story of Mr. Harshad Mehta. Most of the people were not able to understand the meaning of that film because they were not having any awareness about the financial market, and that movie discussed everything about financial market. So now, after reading this chapter, studying this chapter, you will be able to watch that movie also, because you will be having much clarity about financial markets. And there are many business houses. Recently, the company Idea was discussed a lot for expansion of business. They went to financial market to raise this funds. Okay, so later on we will discuss in detail how all these things will be done. But now, at this moment, have a clear picture. Households are the people who save money and keep it in the bank or buy shares and debentures, by which business will avail loan from bank, or they will directly get funds through financial market. Hoping that you have understood this. Now, moving on to what is financial market. You need to understand. It focuses on two things. One is creation of finance. And the next one is exchange of finance. So these are the two activities which a financial market does. Okay, so what it's all about? Creation and exchange of money. Okay, so hoping that you have understood this part. Now we will move to the next part, that is the features of financial market, which is there in your textbook. Now, what this financial market does, the features, the characteristics of financial market. The number one is mobilization of savings and channelizing them into the most productive uses. Now, for this, I need to make you understand a wonderful concept called as time value of money. When I was doing my chartered accountancy, this concept was widely discussed concept, that is time value of money. Okay, so what is time value of money? It says that the value of money changes from time to time, or it says that it decreases from time to time. You just imagine what 1,000 rupees mean to you when you were in school and what now it means. Or you can simply say the purchasing power of the money reduces from time to time. That is called as time value of money. And remember, the time value of money is always decreasing. Clear with this point? Okay, so hoping that you have understood this. Now, how it mobilizes the savings. Now, assume that you had 1 lakh rupees with you in cash and you kept it with you only and you have not deposited it in the bank. Let's see what happens. If you keep it for a year, just assume, if you keep it for a year, this 1 lakh rupees will remain 1 lakh rupees only, whereas with that, the purchasing power of this 1 lakh rupees has reduced. I have said from time to time, the value of the money gets reduced. Okay, so now what could have happened if you would have invested this money, deposited this money in the bank or invested it in a business, that is through financial market? When you deposit this money in the bank or you buy some shares or debentures, there is a company or there is a business which gets funds. When it gets funds, definitely it will buy some raw material, it will pay some wages, it will produce some goods and services, and it will earn some profit. And out of that profit, it will pay interest to the bank and bank will pay interest to you. Remember, a simple decision of keeping this 1 lakh rupees in the bank or buying some shares and debentures through through financial market has given a great start to a financial activity, which in turn helped many to earn and made country to progress. So remember, your money, if it was with you, it could have lost its value, but now it is gaining interest. It is gaining dividend. Okay, so and it will be invested in a best possible way. That is why it is called as it mobilizes the savings and direct it into a proper channel. It will be invested in a proper way. The next is, the second is facilitating price discovery. Now, we have learned in the economics, I don't know whether you have learned in or not. So what is price discovery we need to understand? Price discovery is possible when demand and supply meets. When demand and supply meets, there will be a point where the price can be discovered. Okay, so now the price is discovered when there is a demand and supply. So financial market is a place where the business houses demand and household will supply. At that time, the rate of interest or the price of the security will be decided. So the price of your investment or the price of the savings, जो भी आपने savings किया है, उस savings के जो interest है, जो कहाँ determine होता है, that will be determined in financial market. So it even facilitates the price discovery. At what price the shares are to be sold, at what price the debentures are to be sold. Now the third one is providing liquidity to financial assets. Now, what is liquidity? Now the question arises is, liquidity is all about converting your securities into cash. Now, when you have owned some shares, debentures, the financial market provides a place where you can sell these assets and convert into cash immediately. And even it also allows a place to market your securities. Okay, so this is all about converting your securities into cash. Then next is reducing the cost of transaction. Now, to make you understand this, I need to give you a very simple example. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand in terms of stock market. Just take an example of vegetable market. Assume that in your area, the vegetable market is like, at a place you will get only tomato, you will not get anything else. At other place you get only onion, nothing else. And at other place you will get coriander and leafy vegetable at some place. Now what will happen? In order to buy a complete set of vegetables, you need to travel around 5 to 6 kilometers. You need to ask for the address. You need to incur the fuel charges. You need to pay some information charges. Those all charges will be reduced when you meet them at a place. So the same thing happens when you are in financial market. These financial markets will help you to reduce the cost of the transaction, because as it is at one place, the information is readily available. You don't need to pay anything to collect the information. Then the next is, after studying all the 4 features, now let me tell you once again the features. The first one was mobilization of savings and channelizing them into the most productive uses. So first, your savings was converted into investment, and that also into a profit, because whenever you are investing, you like to invest in a productive way. That means you need to invest into an activity which gives you more return. The next is, the second one was facilitating price discovery. I said it is possible through demand and supply, and as it is a place where the people who demand and people who supply come and meet, the price of the securities can also be discovered. Then the third one was providing liquidity to financial assets. It's all about, that means if you have shares, debentures, bonds with you, or government securities with you, it gives you a place where you can readily convert them into cash. Then, as everything is under one roof, then the cost of getting information, the cost of processing, everything becomes simple and less costly. So these are the 4 features of financial market. Okay, so now coming to the next one, that is types of financial market. Now let's start with the types. And you know that financial market is a place where there will be a creation and exchange of money, now, or finance you can call. Then the types of financial markets. It is divided into two parts. See, just let me again quote a household example. If you ask your father how much cash he holds in his pocket, he may tell you that it may range from 0 to 5,000. But he will never hold rupees 1 lakh in his pocket, even though he has it in the bank account. Because the requirement for a day, requirement for a week can be planned and can be had only, you can have only that much cash. In the same way, every business has two types of requirement. A requirement which is needed for a short time and a requirement which is needed for a long time. And the one which is needed for short time, the time period needs to be defined here. So the time is 1 year. For a business, it has been categorized on the basis of less than 1 year, 1 year or less than that, or more than a year. So if you need any fund which is required for less than a year, it is called as short-term finance, and more than a year, it is called as long-term finance. So this short-term finance can be dealt in a market, financial market called as money market. And anything which you require for a period more than a year, that will be dealt in a market which is called as capital market. Okay. So next, here you don't have any divisions. It is finalized. In the capital market, you have two types of market. One is primary market and the other one is secondary market. The other one is secondary market. The primary market means when you buy securities, remember, when you buy securities directly from the company and not by a mediator or not through anyone else, then this is called as primary market, and this is also called as fresh issue market. इसको हम और क्या कहते हैं? Fresh issue market. And the secondary issue, the secondary market is also called as a second-hand securities market. And this is for, remember, this is not for fresh. This is for existing shares and debentures. Or you can call it as existing securities. And this primary market and the secondary markets are divided into two parts. One is the debt and the other one is the equity. The debt and equity. Now question arises, sir, what is this debt and what is this equity? We will discuss later in detail, but let me tell you shortly. Debt is something which you are going to, we will discuss it later. See, debt will make you a person who has given loan and you will be getting interest, and equity is something which you make as owner of the company and you will be getting dividend. So these two, primary as well as secondary, have this option. You can go for a debt or you can go for equity. Okay, so these are the two important sources of raising the finance also. Okay, so in the next class, we are going to discuss in detail, like what is this money market, then we'll be discussing primary, and then we will be discussing secondary. Thank you very much.